Can you believe it? It's been 3 years since I have been the queen of Tuesday nights of the Right Stuff radio show. Coming up next for the 3rd year celebration. Stay tuned.
You are listening to the best, the only place to be on Tuesday night. That's right, you're listening to The Right Stuff, and you're at the right place at the right time. From England to Canada, from Detroit to the Poconos, we are showcasing Christian authors worldwide, giving you tips, tools, techniques, and resources for you, the writer, to hone and perfect your craft. Tune in every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time right here on WPJC 104.5. And your host, Parker J. Cole.
And welcome to this special edition of The Right Stuff. Let me tell you, I am so happy today because this is the 3rd year. The 3rd year I have been the host of The Right Stuff radio show. I cannot tell you how it feels to be able to say that, to be able to look back over 3 years of bringing you great authors, great books, tips, tools, techniques, showcasing Christian authors worldwide. We're not just talking locally. We're not just talking in the United States. We are talking worldwide. So many different Christian authors in so many different ways, uplifting the kingdom in their own special way, whether it's through romance or science fiction, whether it's through memoirs or literary fiction, whether it's through poetry or any other type of genre. Christian authors showcasing themselves for the kingdom of God. It is such an honor to be able to do this for 3 years. You know, when I first started this show, I was absolutely terrified. I remember sitting in front of the mic, looking at my computer, going, "Oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing?" And the radio going, "You're now live." And I had no idea what I was doing. But you know what? From that first show to now, the Lord has kept me and has helped me to grow doing this thing here, which is showcasing Christian authors worldwide. As you know, my journey started off 3 years ago of July 2013 when I was part of the WLUV radio network. And then this year I started my own network, PJC Media, online broadcasting. And it's been such a wonderful journey to be here with you. What makes this journey so special is that over the last 3 years, I continue to build a network of authors that we all get along. It's like a family. You know, it is my sincere desire to showcase Christian authors, and not just to showcase you one time and then sing you on your way. I want to be there when you win your awards. I want to be there when your next book is out. I want to be there when you're starting to branch off into another genre under another pen name. I want to be there when every time your book is releasing, you talk to me and say, "Hey, Parker, can I be on your show? Can I put my book on your blog? Hey, can I send you an interview you can share with your listeners?" That's what I want. And over 3 years, that has happened. And with me is the first woman who has been on the show from the beginning, Rachel Asano. We're going to be talking to her on the other side of the break. And, you know, I've had the opportunity to watch Rachel grow in her writing career. It's such an honor because she's such a wonderful writer, a wonderful person. And she is with us again today. You may wonder, you say, why do you have Rachel with you every annual celebration? Why wouldn't I? This woman took a chance on me. She had no idea who I was. I had no idea who she was. But guess what? Because we both stepped out on faith, we have a wonderful relationship with each other's writing, and we respect each other so much. And that's one thing I love about The Right Stuff. It's not just a broadcasting show. It's a ministry where I can reach out to so many authors who may not have a platform to talk about their books to a secular world that tries to down anything that has Christian faith and Christian themes in it. But with this show, I embrace it because the Lord gave us the gift to write. And that's what makes me so excited to be doing this for 3 years. I can't help but parallel the ministry of Christ when he was walking on the earth for 3 years. Not that I'm bringing about disciples or anything like that, but just the amount of time that Christ poured into 12 men to go and change the world and flip it upside down. In the same way, I think the Lord uses me to just have a platform to reach so many people who otherwise would not even know about Christian fiction. And so we're going to be going down memory lane. We'll be taking your calls, questions, comments, saying hello, howdies. Just want to hear from you today. If you call in at 646-668-8485 and then press 1 to be live on air, or you can hit me on Twitter at ParkerJCo, #RightStuff with your questions and comments, or hit me on Facebook on my profile. I'm glad and happy to read your responses to our show today. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Engaging the culture's imagination through speculative fiction, the Untold Podcast produces audio fiction from a Christian worldview. Find us over at untoldpodcast.com, where we partner with authors to tell science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, and horror stories. Find links at untoldpodcast.com to subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, and a variety of other platforms. Each month we produce high-quality audio fiction that's free to download and free to listen. Our submissions are open, and we're always looking to add another great story to over 24 hours of narrative entertainment. Find all of our audio fiction over at www.untoldpodcast.com.
Authors, are you looking for a new way to get your book in the hands of new audience of targeted buyers? Then a virtual book tour is for you. Right now, virtual book tours is an excellent opportunity for you to introduce your book and who you are as an author. Launching your book is very important. A virtual book tour will connect you with readers. We at WNL, we specialize in book tours, book blasts, radio tours, cover reveals, and Facebook chat. Promoting and marketing your book is what we do. Online publicity, the exposure and the publicity is what you need. Let us help you reach new readers and a new audience. We take care of everything so you don't have to. We set up the tour for you. We connect you with bloggers to advertise your book by way of interviews, guest posts, and reviews. If you are an author of a newly published book, have an upcoming release, or just want to give a previously published book new life, a virtual book tour is your answer. Check our tours out at www.wnlbooktours.com. Visit me on Facebook. I am the owner, Paulette Harper.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guest, right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show again. We are celebrating the third year of the Right Stuff Radio Show. I am glad to be here, the queen of Tuesday nights. You know, as I look back over the last 3 years, I got to tell you about my journey. Some of you already know it. Those of you who have been listening to me from the beginning, you know my journey. When I first started this show, it was back in July of 2013. And at that time, I had just published one book called Dark Cherub, my Christian horror book. I had just published that via self-publishing via a vanity press. And then a good friend of mine connected me with my wonderful agent, Vanessa Grosset, and she was trying to sell my book, Many Strange Women, to publishers. And I never forget how many times I have been rejected over and over again. I remember talking to various guests on the show saying, you know what, I've just had my 6th rejection. I've just had my 9th rejection. I remember being on Facebook bemoaning the fact I could not sell my book, thinking, I know I have a great product. Why isn't anyone picking up this story? Because for some people, they want a traditional publisher as their partner in their writing career, while others have the spirit. And so I remember thinking, like, I will never get my book published. And then Alexia Publishing sent an email to my agent, and they were really thrilled to take my book on. And as they say, the rest is history. From 3 years ago, I went from having only one book to now publishing my 7th book. I'm working on literally my 8th, 9th, and 10th book as we are talking now. One a sweet romance, one a sci-fi book, and one a fantasy. And you know what? God has brought me so far. I give every single praise to him. And I'm going to try not to cry because I can already feel my throat choking up here. So what I'm going to do to help me keep me level, I'm going to have my good friend Rachel come on board because Rachel, like I said before the break, she was the first person to have on our show. So Rachel, thank you so much for joining us this special edition of The Right Stuff. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's exciting to be here. I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Yeah, it just goes by so quickly, Rachel. When you think about it, you think what happened? What was I doing for 3 years? I can't remember.
Yeah, I had to go look back, and I'm like, oh, okay, that was 3 books ago, and
yes, it's like, wow. You kind of go like, my mother always said, don't wait for time because time's not going to wait for you.
Exactly. That's very true.
Rachel, I want to catch up with you because like I told our guests, our listeners rather, you were the first person on the show. Kind of peel back the veil in your thoughts. You hear this woman, she's having, interviewing Christian authors. What are your thoughts when you get that email or see that post on Facebook? What are some of the thoughts that went through your mind, if you can remember back that far ago?
With the first publication?
Yeah.
Oh, it was exciting, thrilling. Can't wait until it was just life-changing. Mm-hmm. The thought that I can do this. This is going to work out. That was exciting.
When you heard about the show, like, the right stuff, when you heard about that and you heard me looking for authors, what were some of the things going through your mind about that whole thing? I mean, because I always say you took a risk on me. You didn't know who I was or anything. You just kind of say, yeah, sure. That's how I see it.
That's a really cool opportunity. That was probably my first thought. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm not quite up for radio. And then going, oh, no, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Just jump at it and try my best and see how it turns out. And I'm glad I did. It's been a great experience every single time I've been on here. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you better.
What I appreciate, Rachel, is really staying focused on what you're doing with your career. That's what I said in the beginning of the show. I like the family atmosphere that the Right Stuff has helped bring together. I know so many authors, and I want to keep following them. I don't want to just end with just one book. I want to keep watching your career go. So go ahead, catch us up what's been going on since that very first show back in 2013.
Well, since then I've published 3 new books. And one of them being an anthology this past year, which is a character-focused anthology of a whole bunch of stories exploring the backstory of this one particular very popular character in one of my series. I've got like 4 more books in the process of getting ready to be published, and I'm excited about what's coming up. Seems like the world is never ending what can be done, once you sit down and start writing. The possibilities are endless, and it's exciting to just explore them and take off in different directions.
I like seeing your new series you're working on, the different worlds and kingdoms you have created. Tell us a bit about those kingdoms.
Pretty much almost all of my books are all set in the same world. Each of the kingdoms has a different series at this point. So I have Rhinan, which is my Novels of Rhinan series, which is following the events in a kingdom that's very like 1400s European kingdom. And then I have Anne of Rhea, which is another series of books, and that follows events in the country of Anne of Rhea about the royal family and a lot of their adventures and different things that happen to them. So I've got those going, and I just keep exploring new countries. I've been playing with ideas of exploring yet another neighboring country and trying out a different governmental system and a different society, building a new culture. I love the world building. It's a lot of fun.
That's one thing I discovered as an author is that world building aspect, because I do a lot of romance, obviously, but world building can be quite addictive. You can get into world building. I think it kind of hails to our quote unquote God complex we may have actually, because I think it does mirror that a little bit. When we first started talking back in 2013, our first conversation was romantic love versus arranged marriage. That was our first conversation that we had.
Yes.
I remember that very vividly, because what's so amazing now? What's so amazing now, Rachel, is that show was 90 minutes. Can you believe that? We were on.
Oh my, it was long.
Yeah, and to me, I felt like I kept having to talk more. But actually, it went very quickly, even though it was 90 minutes long. Now I've brought the show down to an hour, and that was just a rather recent a recent thing that I did like last year, because I was talking to a good friend of mine, LaShonda, and she said, well, most podcasts go 30 minutes, no more than an hour. And I remember I had Becky Miner from Railmaker. She was on the show, and she made a comment in her Facebook saying, wow, just spent 90 minutes on the phone talking about world building. And when I saw that, I said, I wonder if that's too long. If that's too long. And so I remember bringing the show down to 1 hour, and that seems to help people be more engaged in the show, make sure they listen to it. So, going back from 90 minutes to an hour now, and then sometimes, depending on the guest, if they have time, sometimes half an hour, 45 minutes. And so go ahead, Rachel, tell us a little bit more about some of your projects that you're working on, because I know you do more than just book. I also know you do some author services as well.
Yes, I design covers for authors, especially indie authors, but if you're a small press author and your press would like to work with me, I'm available. I enjoy playing around with telling the story through the visual art instead of the words. It has been a fun little side business of mine. And my current projects with my writing, I'm working on the science fiction novel, and I'm working on a speculative fiction trilogy that I finished up, and I'm trying to polish it up for publication. So trying out some new genres for myself, so it's kind of fun.
That is something to think about when you stretch your writing muscles into a different direction, because I'm doing the same thing too with my science fiction and speculative fiction, because I do love those genres, but just stretching out those muscles to see what you can do, that's what's so exciting about being a writer, that you don't have to stay in one genre. You can always branch out because your creativity is so vast. You can really challenge yourself that way.
Yes, yes. And I love exploring new worlds, new conflicts, new things to try out, new relationships to explore, the different dynamics between the main characters and their pasts and their futures. It's really, I really enjoy exploring the characters.
And that's the nice thing about the right stuff, is that we have so many opportunities to talk to so many authors who explore different worlds and different characters. They create characters that we love and characters that we hate. They create fantastical worlds that we can travel to, sometimes epic battles and tragic stories and tragic episodes and scenes. All kind of stuff happens on the right stuff when we talk about these type of topics and stuff like that. And so, Rachel, you've been on the show a few times. What has a platform like The Right Stuff done for you, and how do you see it helping other authors as well?
It has helped me tremendously, because I do most of my promotional stuff online, and so I'm kind of tied into the outlets that I use, and sometimes it's hard to find a new audience to talk to and to introduce my work to. And The Right Stuff has opened up a whole new audience to introduce myself to talk about my work, about all the things I like to do with it, and why I write the way I write, and all of that stuff. And I really enjoy that aspect of The Right Stuff. Is it opens doors for authors.
I like that you say that, because I kind of wanted, that was my whole goal behind The Right Stuff, is opening the doors to authors, because so many authors, generally speaking, are introverts, and generally speaking, they are very quiet. They contain a lot of their energy. When I use the term energy, I use it loosely. They contain their creativity, because the creativity is expressed through the work. And so to have this platform, that was one of the reasons behind having this platform, was the fact that I wanted authors to be able to showcase their work, especially Christian authors. And so what are your thoughts about a platform for Christian authors to do this?
It's very hard to find a good platform for a Christian author, because you run into people who, just because you mention anything Christian, don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. They avoid you like plague. And then you have other people who are, they criticize you for your beliefs, or you criticize you for what your characters did, or they attack you. And so that's not a very good way to handle, things that you don't agree with anyway. But I really like that The Right Stuff is very open and very friendly and very non-aggressive. You're just facilitating, and that is wonderful. Authors have a hard time finding good facilitators to help them in their journey.
I agree with you. I know that there is a lack of a platform for Christian authors to showcase their work because, like you said, the moment you hear Christian, they don't want to hear it. They mock you. They'll say, oh, I know what this book is already about. And that's one thing about this show, Rachel. Just because we have Christian authors, you have no idea what's inside these books. These books range from Amish romances to
yes, I like that aspect. I really love that aspect about your show because it is, you don't have to say, okay, it's Christian fiction. So everybody has to have a conversion experience in the story, and you have to have this, and you have to have that. You open it up and you say, okay, this controversial stuff needs to be talked about. This stuff, you can write books about controversy. You can write books about relationship stuff that you don't really talk about it in polite company. And, you open that up and you say, it's okay, and it's still Christian.
Yes,
and it's still accessible, and you don't find that. That's part of why I'm independently published, because I don't find that I don't write what they'd expect to write, and so I still consider myself Christian, and my work is Christian, and it's God-honoring, but it doesn't fit the cookie cutter that everybody expects it to, and some people appreciate it for that, some people don't, but finding somebody who's going to help you spread the word about that is hard to find.
Rachel, you just opened up a can right there. So what I'm going to do is take a quick break because I'm going to touch on that topic on the other side of the break about some of the uniqueness of the right stuff. If you want to weigh in on our topic, you certainly can by calling in at 646-668-8485, then press 1 to be live on air, or you can hit me on Twitter at #ParkerJCole, #RightStuff with your questions and comments. We're going to go ahead and take a quick short break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
What's up, y'all? This is your bro, Robbie Newborn, Christian rap evangelist ministry leader and founder of GDT Walking Out Ministries, a drug awareness, peer mentoring, and counseling ministry that spreads a message of hope to the hopeless, bringing the gospel to the street. I am a recovery specialist, intervention, drug prevention professional, so if you're looking for a counselor or counseling or someone to just talk to, please call me at 484-525-9832. My website is www.rdsjr.com. God bless you all from all of us at GDT, Walking Out Ministries, and Team God. Peace and Christ love. Come on.
Are you a reader looking for more compelling Christian fiction? Maybe something a little more edgy or a bit more real? Are you tired of most Christian fiction shying away from the truth and settling for a rose-tinted view of the world and its issues? Or are you an author who has a compelling story to tell, but you're afraid it doesn't jive with today's brand of Christian or secular fiction? Are you tired of Christian publishers telling you that your content is too edgy? Or maybe you've tried submitting your content under the radar to secular publishers only to be told your themes are a bit too religious? We invite you to take a look at the Crossover Alliance. We are an online publishing company that specializes in edgy Christian speculative fiction with Christian themes and real-world content. Our company is formed from authors and readers just like you who are breaking into the mainstream and Christian markets with this compelling genre. Head over to the www.thecrossoveralliance.com for all the details on who we are, what we do, and what we accept. Right now, if you sign up for our email newsletter, you'll receive a free digital copy of our first short story anthology. Check us out today and help us spread the word about the Crossover Alliance, where light shines brighter in the darkness.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. We are celebrating the third year of the Right Stuff Radio Show with yours truly, the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. I've been talking with my returning guest co-host and the first person that was on the Right Stuff, Rachel Rossano. She is the author of several books, but the book that got her on the show, I should say, or the first book we actually talked about was her book, Duty. And you know, Rachel, when I look back on the show, sometimes I played the show in the past, and I'll play it to see where I've come from and how we were just having a great conversation talking about, romantic love versus arranged marriage, just talking about how we even talk about Fiddler on the Roof. We talked about Boaz and Ruth. We've had a lot of good times, and you taught your fascination with arranged marriages and stuff like that. And then before the break, you made mention how some Christian publishers and Christians don't want to hear things that are not polite in polite conversation, or they don't want to hear things that are very controversial in polite conversation. In your own opinion, why do you think that is?
I think it's because it is a controversy, and there are areas that some people aren't comfortable discussing, and or they just avoid it. And I can understand that. I am not a person who seeks out controversy myself, and I'd happily avoid some topics because I know I'm just going to cause a fight, or and then somebody's going to get really mad at me. But it still doesn't mean that these things shouldn't be discussed. It doesn't mean these things shouldn't be written about. And if nobody discusses or writes about them, nobody's going to be taught or think through the process of what they believe about these certain things. And so I think it is important to discuss them. I'm a big believer in you need to discuss things. You need to be honest. You need to be open. And you need to be, okay, this is what I believe. This is why I believe it. And I think honest discussion is a great tool for teaching and admonishing and strengthening each other as Christians. And
I think that's good.
Yeah. I think shying away from it does more harm than good.
This show definitely has not been a stranger to controversial topics, as I was thinking about some of the myriad of controversial topics I've talked about on this show. And when I mean controversial, I'm not talking about blatant controversy. It's all things that are hard to talk about within Christian circles. It's a lot that has been sexual abuse. We've talked about violence. We've talked about domestic violence. We've talked about satanic attacks, spiritual warfare. These are very controversial topics in the scheme of things. And sometimes those topics have touched listeners, and I have listeners call me, and they've remarked via social media and say, thank you so much for talking about this topic. I'll never forget when we spoke with one author. Her name was Trudy Metzger. The name of her book is Between Two Gods. She talked about abuse and sexual abuse in the Mennonite community. And when she did that, it was very difficult for her to do that. But she did it. And what happened from the outpouring of her spirit, so many young girls within those communities were contacting her because they had this problem. And I never even thought about something like that, because you have a perception of a group of people thinking like, oh, these group of people must have a very idyllic life. They don't have these kind of problems. And then you find out that all that sin comes short of the glory of God. And I remember being happy to be proud. And so I remember being happy and proud to be part of that conversation. I remember we talked to Alana Terry, and Alana Terry talked about the restricted nations. She talked North Korea and how she used her writings that God gave her to help free a young girl from poverty and from the restrictions in North Korea. And that's what she did with her writing. And I was like, wow, Alana. I told Alana, I felt so like, well, what am I doing with my writing? Because she used the proceeds of her book to pay to get to rescue a little girl from the clutches of North Korea, which is a restricted country. Something I hadn't even thought of. I remember Alana Terry, and she is the author of The Beloved Daughter. I remember Alana Terry said, when you learn about these things, it spoils you, because it spoils you and ruins things for you, because you never expected these type of things to happen. But once you find out something, you have to move on it. You have to do something about it, or you choose not to do anything about it. And for Alana, she chose not to do that. Rachel, you hear a story like that, like with Trudy with sexual abuse. These are, like I said, taboo topics and hard topics within the church. And then you hear about Alana's story with restricted nations and rescuing persecuted Christians in restricted nations. And you kind of realize that just because I'm a writer, it doesn't mean I'm not valuable to the kingdom. And these works that we write, fictional, Trudy's was more of a memoir, and Alana's was fictional. But they both use it to help the kingdom of God in so many different ways. What are some of your thoughts when you hear that?
And, I think it is exciting. I think it is a wonderful use of their talents. And I think a lot of people are doing it in even smaller, more subtle ways in their writing. And, if you put a character in there who's the victim of family abuse, like you're a very abusive father or a verbally abusive father, or somebody who's dealing with neglect or something like that, if you put that in your book and you process, you present it in the right way and you present the struggle, you can change people's lives to make them realize, okay, yes, I did go through this. I can walk out the other side. I can grow from this. There is hope. And sometimes that, even though it's not a self-help book on how to survive this, it can help in very, very strong and powerful ways that people don't realize. When you just say, oh, I wrote a book about this and this, they're going, oh, it's fiction, who cares? You know,
exactly.
It's like you're entertaining. No, I'm actually not just entertaining. I'm trying to present reality in a way that can make people think.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. I agree wholeheartedly with you. And that's one thing that Right Stuff has done, and as the host of this show, what I try to do is that I don't shy away from those tough topics. And sometimes those topics can be rough, especially when you're dealing with someone who has gone through some kind of trauma. But on the flip side, with the fiction, too, on the flip side, you have a fantastic vehicle to show the gospel of Christ in there's so many different ways. I know for a fact, one of the books, and a lot of people, when they hear me, they go, what are you talking about? But Mark Carver, he is a Christian horror author. He likes dark books. He actually likes a lot of dark stuff. And what he did, Rachel, and I think I mentioned this before, and I tell him all the time I just love his books because he uses darkness to show God's light. And in his one book called Age of Apollyon, it was a horror series, and it's a very different take on the end times. And in this book, the character is a satanist, and he's a satanist culturally. And you can see the parallel between people who are Christians culturally. They don't necessarily agree with Christian theology, but they're cultural Christians. And in this book, he was a satanic culturally. And just his roller coaster ride throughout that book, and how the question that Mark posed was that is there any heart too dark for God's love to reach? And then, of course, there's the other book with Jeremy Bullard, and his book is called Gem World. It's a fantasy story. It takes place like a parallel world. And in this book, this guy finds out the use of magic. But magic is not the satanic stuff. It's more so of a tool in this parallel world that they use. And so then you have another book. Of course, you have the romances, and you got your books. I think you do a lot of non-magical fantasy books.
Yes.
Rachel, you do your books, and you bring out different ideas in your books, and then
and so mine focus more on loyalty and family connections and honoring and the conflict between how do I honor a person who does not hold honor highly? How can I be loyal to a king who is perverse? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And I love that. Anything that has to deal with kings and queens, I absolutely love. I think if I was going to be anybody, I would have been a princess. So I just love that idea. And so, the Right Stuff, we really do take the time to talk about the tough issues. And I think the more Christians talk about the tough issues, the issues that make people cringe, the issues that make you have a knee-jerk response to it, the more we talk about it, I think to myself, you know what, Rachel, we may actually help someone heal. We may help someone heal from a trauma. We may actually make someone's day by relieving stress. We may actually do some great works with our words.
Yes. You can do amazing things with your words, and words have the power to hurt, and they have a power to heal, and they have the amazing power to present the truth. And they're just a wonderful tool if they're used well. And I like it that you don't say, okay, everybody has to use it the same way. You can try different things. You can experiment. You can do things that are not quite what everybody expects. And I like that aspect. Yeah.
I think I do, too. I remember when I was planning the show, I wasn't sure if I wanted to have people do the exact same thing. Would I only showcase romance authors or only showcase spec authors, stuff like that? And then it came to me, showcase Christian authors. Why would I want to hold someone back or that they can't express their word? They have to be Christian, obviously. That is a requirement of the show because, I'm showcasing Christian authors. I mean, it kind of says it right there. And so one of the fun facts I wanted to share with you, Rachel, is that I do not know if you remember how this show took place. Do you remember how this show came to be?
No, nothing's coming to mind.
Oh, that's good, because what happened is this. My agent had contacted me, and my agent said, I've been praying for you. And I love my agent, Vanessa Grassa. I love her because she is a praying woman. She prays with me. She prays over our careers. All her offers she prays for. And she is gun-ho, in your face, I am praying for you. And I don't know if a lot of Christian agents do that. I don't know if they do that. And she has been a confidant and a good friend these past 3 years. And she emailed me. She said, you know what, Parker? I think you should do a radio show. That's exactly what she said. And I said, really? Is that what you think?
She is a wise woman.
She said that. And so what happened, to kind of give more substance to the story, and I've told this story a couple of times, my husband 2 years prior had bought a microphone. And I remember being so upset when he bought this microphone. I remember telling this to our listeners before. And I remember thinking, why do you have this microphone? No one in here is about to do a radio show. That's exactly what I told him 2 years prior. I said, no one's going to do a radio show. Why did you even buy this? And he goes, it was on sale. I said, but we don't need it. I said, we don't need this microphone. Why do you have it? And I remember being so furious with him because he buys his toys. And so what happened, then we moved into the house that we're in now, and while we were at a networking function, I met the man who was going to be my producer for the very first show, and I met him just quite high happenstance. I had no idea he had a radio network till he told me about it, and then I was just going to help with him administratively with his network. And then that's the following year, and then I met my agent who tells me about this radio show, and I said okay, and then I talked to the guy who was a producer, Ramon Garrett. I talked to him, and then I already had the equipment, so all I had to do was get the show together. And I always laugh because, the Lord knew what he was doing, even though I didn't see the purpose of it 2 years prior. And if I could just tell you how upset I was when I saw that microphone that my husband brought in. And now I use that microphone every single show. And for the fact that my husband got it on sale because the mic's like over $100, he got it on sale for some cheap, ridiculous price. And that's how the show began. It's from it happened 2 years ago with the purchase of a microphone that my husband bought, and then it came to fruition July of 2013. So that's kind of a fun fact to go into.
Yes, I love it that you could see the Lord's hand all the way back to your husband purchasing a microphone.
Right.
It's like I have a use for this.
And at the time you just don't see, and that's the nice part about looking back, because you don't see going through it, but looking back and seeing where you come from, it's just absolutely amazing. I want you to guess, Rachel, how many shows in the 3 years that we've been doing this show, how many shows do you think I've showcased? Just guess, any number.
How many shows?
Yeah, like how many broadcasts?
Well, let's see. I'd say, 24 would be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So 36.
I have showcased over 100 shows. I've broadcast
wow.
over 100
Oh, yeah,
shows.
I forgot you started the second show on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm. No, just with the right stuff. Just with the right stuff.
My goodness.
Over 100 broadcasts. About
that
total
is cool.
of, I think I've had a total of 150 broadcasts total, I think. Maybe a bit more.
Well done.
I look back at that, and I remember thinking, how can I survive the first show? And in the last 3 years, I've probably broadcasted over 100 shows, and I don't know how many authors I've broadcasted, well over 70 or 80. Well over 70 or 80 authors.
That's amazing.
You know what's so amazing about that, as I look back on that, Rachel, is that I had no idea what I was doing. Okay.
Well, you grew and you learned on the job and done a great job.
And that's the point about writers who don't pick up the pen to write, Rachel, is that they don't know that you'll learn as you go. It doesn't matter if someone says something bad about your book. It doesn't matter if someone's going to reject it. Not everyone is going to reject your work. Not everyone is going to say something bad about it. Not everyone is going to think your work is stupid. But you have to just learn on the job. If you make a mistake in the first book, nowadays with Kindle and Amazon and those platforms, you can hurry up, correct it, and redistribute it. We're probably within the same hour that you realize your mistake. And get this, even if you don't make the changes, you can always improve on the next book and on the next book and on the next book. And with each book, you learn, you grow. Just like I've been showcasing the show for 3 years, I've learned so much over that time. I want to share that with our listeners on the other side of the break. So we're going to do, Rachel, take another quick short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what we've learned in the last 3 years I've been hosting The Right Stuff. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guest on the Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Question: if you write a book, everybody will rush out to buy it. Obvious answer, no. If you were a celebrity or if you had a huge marketing budget, then maybe you can get a lot of exposure for your book. Another solution would be to check out joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com is a promotion and marketing service with access to over 1/3 followers on Twitter. joeytweets.com has 3 packages available to fit any budget. That's joeytweets.com. joeytweets.com. Get some serious exposure for your books.
You are a dreamer and creator. You are a builder and destroyer of worlds. You are a starship pilot, a dragon rider, a galactic marine, at home in the company of elves. And you get a lot of strange looks from the other authors at that Christian Writers Conference. You are a Christian speculative fiction author, and we say, welcome home. Realm Makers 2016, the only conference for Christian fantasy and science fiction authors, featuring classes and sessions with world-class authors and industry professionals like author Tosca Lee, agent and publisher Steve Lobby, and many more, with keynotes by 4-time Christie Award-winning author Thomas Locke. Realm Makers 2016, July 28th through 30th at Villanova University, Pennsylvania. Register now at realmmakers.com. Use the promo code RADIO for a special discount.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J. and her guests, right here on The Right Stuff.
Welcome back to the show. You're listening to the 3rd year celebration of The Right Stuff. I am so glad you are able to join me for this wonderful edition. I am talking to my first guest I ever had on the show, Rachel Rossano. She is here with me. And Rachel, once again, thank you so much for joining me on the show. You know, before the break, we talked about the things that you have to do. You know, one of the things that you mentioned was that you have to put yourself into, you have to learn on the job, as you say. You have to learn the job as you talk about writing. And that just got me to thinking about my things I've learned while I've been host of The Right Stuff. And I wanted to share them with you, Rachel, because I think they're really important as authors continue to develop and grow in their careers, that there's always room for improvement, and that you never really quite arrive, because it's impossible to arrive on planet Earth because we live in such a condition of sin, and the Lord is the only one who can make us healthy until we get to Him, though. So you got to keep learning on the job, as you say. So a few things I've learned while I've been host of the show is this. Writers are introverts. And that's kind of important, because sometimes I've had guests on the show that have been extremely nervous, and because they're so nervous, they have really short answers or staccato answers. And it's always kind of fun to work with those kind of writers, because you just have to keep the conversation going. And I've learned how to think very quickly. If I see an author going, if I ask the question, go, yes. If I ask another question, no. And stuff like that. So one thing I've learned is to make sure I engage the authors. And I know authors, we do this all the time with our readers. We want to definitely engage the reader. So one thing I've learned as the host of The Right Stuff is to engage the guests as they come on board, because some of them are introverts, and it's hard for them to be motivated by talking, because the words do all the talking for them.
Yes, as us authors like to edit what we say many times before we release it into the world. That's just not possible on a radio show. Yeah, pretty much it's going to, whatever you say is going to come out. Don't worry if it comes out wrong. That's one thing I always tell my officers. Do not worry if you make a mistake. Don't worry if, the kids are in the background hollering and screaming. Don't worry if the dog's barking. It's fine. You'd be so surprised how it's okay. I know most people want to have a perfect show, and I just want the show that God gives me, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be perfect, because only He is perfect. So anything that goes well, goes well. Yes. Another thing I've learned is that writing truly is a gift from God, and this really hits the crux of The Right Stuff. Knowing that having the opportunity to showcase Christian authors and let them know that the writing is from God. And every good and perfect gift comes from Him. But I think writers have such a unique gift. Not that anyone else doesn't have a unique gift. They're all very valid. But writing, it mirrors so much of how important the written word is to the Father. It really mirrors that. What was you going to say to that, Rachel? I was going to say that Jesus is identified in the Bible as the Word. And I think that is a good indication, and that's how God revealed himself. He didn't reveal himself by proclamations from heaven. He's revealed himself in the Bible using words and using poetry and prose and metaphors and all this language that he has provided for us to communicate to each other and to spread his word and his love. And I think that's part of why he's made it so powerful. He's used it to show so much, and we are just mimicking. We're following in his footsteps and trying to do the same to glorify him. It's special to him, I'm pretty sure.
And that's what I think, like you said, it's special to him. So when he gives us the gift to write, we should really take that into consideration. Mind you, like you said, we don't have to have a conversion story in every story. We don't have to have the Lord be a central character, quote unquote, in the story. But he's given us this gift and used this gift in so many different ways. When we look in the Bible, why would the Lord have his word be written down and throughout the generations over and over again? And why would it have to be sent in different tongues and different languages? Because the written word is so important. And we writers have that awesome responsibility to capture why the written word is so important.
Yes.
And the other thing I've learned so far as a host of this show is that the more serious you take your writing, the less you have writer's block. And I say this because
that's true.
I think it's interesting because in the beginning, and you could tell me what your own experience too, Rachel, in the beginning, I wrote on the whim. I wrote on the flow. I wrote on the creative juices in my brain. So whenever I had a flow going, I wrote. But then it took 10 years to get my first book written. And then my second book, Many Strange Women, took 18 months to get written. And then now my third book, which is The Other Man, took a year. And then I wrote 2 books 1 year. And so the more serious you get about your writing, it helps with your writer's block because you start to really discipline your thoughts, discipline your time. You start to really see the value of plotting out your thoughts. Even if you're a pantser, and for those who don't know, a pantser is someone who writes on the flow like we used to, you really can unblock writer's block. What are your thoughts about that, Rachel?
I think a professional writer is the person who's going to sit down even when they don't feel like writing and write. And they don't get too upset about the fact that it's all choppy and the words are in the wrong order or you picked the wrong word or, it doesn't flow and it's not beautiful, because we know it's not beautiful the first time it comes out. It's not. And you have to edit and refine it and to make it beautiful. And that is something a professional writer is going to figure out. If you're just a pantser, you're going to only write when you feel like it. Or not just a pantser, because I know some professionals who are pantsers, sorry.
Yes.
But if you're not serious about it, you're going to only write when you feel like it. And sometimes you don't feel like it, and you still need to write. And you need to use whatever you're feeling in whatever situation you are to feed the story. And sometimes that means, okay, you sit down and you grind out 300 words, and that's all you get done that day. And sometimes it means, okay, you sit down and do like 3,000 words, and that's wonderful. It's a great feeling, but it doesn't happen every single day. So, and you have to realize that and not get too upset about it. You just go, okay, we're gonna keep writing through this. We'll get there.
And that's the point. You will keep writing through it, keep pushing on through it, keep working through it, because the more you work through it, what's going to happen is that you'll start to create more books. You'll start to understand it better. You'll start to get a clearer grasp of things. I know for myself, when I wrote the current book I'm working on right now, the sci-fi book, and I actually need to do a lot of research for that book. And the people that was going to help me, they're busy, and I totally understand that. And so what happened, I put it onto a hiatus for a while. And then what happened, I connected with another author friend of mine, Ben Wolf. He connected me to a scientist that I need to talk to. And literally all that research started to get the juices flowing. And so that's what I mean by the more serious you get about your research, then what's going to happen, the research is going to herald in the writing block. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, my gosh, it's coming. So even if you are a pantser, it works. And that's how the more serious you get, because you also realize, too, and Rachel, I want you to speak to this, too, when you get more serious about it, what starts to happen is that your brain overflows with more ideas. When overflow more ideas, you can have several projects going at the same time, and you're not going to be too confused by it. Now, I wouldn't suggest having 10 or 12 projects open, because then you may never get anything done. But maybe 2 or 3 open at once may be okay.
I always say, okay, I've got at least one in editing. I always have one in the development stages of an idea, and I have one I'm currently working on, and I probably have 2 or 3 that I have got open. You know, it's like they're still there. There's still a life to them. I just don't have the time to keep up with them, and I have to focus on one at a time. But even when I'm writing on my current work in progress, I'm still thinking about other things. It still have other ideas in my head, and I'm still germinating ideas to make up new plots. So it's like I'm writing the next book in my Rynan series, but I'm still thinking about the half-finished science fiction novel I have sitting there, and I'm thinking about a new idea for a short story connected to that, and you know, it never stops. You just have to go, okay, which one is the most important? And you have to be disciplined to say, okay, yes, it's shiny, but I can't touch it yet.
Yes, and that's the hard part. I totally agree with you, Rachel. That's the hard part. Because right now, when you said that, I started thinking about, I have a story for some urban romances I want to do. And urban romance are kind of like, in the genre I'm trying to get is like gangster romances, you know, hardcore street kind of romances in my head, but I want to make sure they still have a Christian theme in them. And so the idea is in my head now, and I'm actually going to connect it with my other series. And so I'm really excited about it. I'm like, not yet. Let me finish. Let me finish these 2 I'm trying to work on now. And that's what happens, because you get so disciplined, then you have to discipline your ideas almost, because then all the characters will start shouting at you, wanting their story. The next thing I learned throughout this whole procedure is this: networking is the key. And I cannot tell you how vital this has been for me as a radio host of The Right Stuff. We got a comment from Samantha. Samantha in Lexington, Kentucky. Samantha Fury is also the founder of Christian Indie Authors Network. And Samantha says this: hey, Parker, congrats on 3 years. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. You're doing a great service for Christian authors. I loved being on your show and think you are the queen of Tuesday night. Sam, thank you so much for that wonderful word of encouragement. And I can't tell you how essential the Christian Indie Authors Network has been to the show. I've had many other members on my show, and I've had also indie Christian authors on my show, and I've had publishers, and I work with their authors. Networking is the key. And I want you to speak to that a little bit, because that's what I've learned on the 3 years of doing The Right Stuff. Could you expand on that for me, Rachel?
Well, writing is such a solitary experience. You're sitting in front of a screen or with a book open on your lap, and you have a pen or you have your keyboard, and you're pouring your thoughts onto the page. And it's a very solitary experience. But once you get to the point where you're publishing and you're getting your work out there, you need support. Because it's really hard to market, since, as you pointed out multiple times, we're all usually introverts. And we don't like talking about ourselves. And we don't like talking about our work. And we need the support system to say, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can do this. And this is who you should talk to. And this is who you should connect with. And this person can help you with this. And that support system is huge in helping authors be able to keep going. Because it's easy to get discouraged. You get a bad review, and you're sitting there going, okay, my work is trash. I should just give up. And you need people to come alongside and say, no, it's okay. You're not going to please everybody. They didn't get it, and that's okay, because you're not going to have everybody get it. You're going to hear from the people who don't get it more than you're going to hear from the people who do get it. And you're making a difference. You're changing people's lives with your work. And having somebody from the outside experience going, hey, I've been there, I've done that, you'll get there. And this is how. That is so helpful.
I totally agree
really
with
discouraged.
You. Yes. I totally agree with you, Rachel, about that, because networking is the key to making this show successful. I think about when I first started this show, I met a young woman. Her name is Christine. She hasn't been on the show yet. I got to get her on the show. But I met her, and she said, hey, let me introduce you to Christian Indie Authors Network. And I said, sure, go ahead and introduce me. So she did that, and so many of the authors that come from that show. And then I also started to branch out with publishers. I also started to reach out to others. And networking has been so essential to the success of the show because I've been able to create a family and a family of authors and a family of author services providers. And I've had great interaction with great authors, and I've also met some really great authors who I love to read. I always talk about my good friend Piper. I told Piper, I may be a colleague of yours, but I'm also a fan. When is your next book coming out? And I'm always hollering at her, when is your next book coming out? And she's like, I'm trying my best.
I know, I know the feeling.
And she's like, and I'm like, well, your best isn't good enough. Hurry up. I want to hear about the next guy in the story. And I love her work. And for those of you who follow the show, Piper Hughley is an award-winning author. She also has been one of the pioneers in African-American historical fiction as it relates to inspirational fiction. And she's also writing about the Reconstruction era, which is an area within the historical romance section that don't have a lot of work in there. And so that's another thing about the show that I like is the fact that because of networking, I can be introduced to new authors who are writing new things. And that makes it wonderful. We do have a caller calling in from Arizona. Caller, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Hello, Parker. I wanted to say congratulations on your 3rd anniversary. I wanted to get on sooner, but, you know, life as a publicist is like that. But I'm so proud of you. I also want to congratulate you for being on the list of the best of summer reading 2016. So joy, your way.
And Fran, let me tell you, thank you so much for your help as a publicist. You know, those of you who follow have had Fran's been on the show numerous times. She's always a wonderful PR, and she truly understands how authors work, and she knows what to do to get that attention for authors, and not just for authors, for any company looking for exposure, publicity. You definitely want to go to Fran Briggs. And Fran, I want you to know a little bit more about your services while I got you on the phone, so go ahead and tell us about it.
Sure. First of all, I want to say hello to all of the listeners, and I'm really feeling your support and love with Parker. I am a publicist. I'm also a journalist, and what I do is I help entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, entertainers, mothers of 5, second graders, tell the world who they are and what they do. Well, that's a very generic statement. To be more specific, and we all know that it takes a little bit more than that, I will help you with your marketing, identifying your marketing objectives, your goals. I'll help you with your daily or weekly income goals. A lot of people don't have that. And just your general overall vision for success, whatever that is. I help you identify that. It's very, very exciting. And I'm on Facebook, so if you want to connect with me, please do. That would be Fran Briggs, B as in boy, RIGGS. And Twitter, I'm Fran Briggs and the number 1. So I enjoy what I do and would love to speak with you complimentary to help you with anything that may be on your mind or heart.
You know, Fran, you've always been a huge supporter of the right stuff ever since I started this show. And, you know, what's so funny, Rachel, with Fran is that I met Fran quite just by accident. Fran had sent me a message in my Facebook, 3-4 years ago now. And at the time, it's like sometimes like that, Fran. And she mentioned her services to me. And I'll be honest with you, usually when people mention their services, I shut down. And something said, go for it. Something said, just go for it. And it has been a wonderful relationship ever since. And that's why I mentioned on the show, it's not just that I want to use you once and then, okay, you're done. I need a new experience. Nothing like that. No, I want to grow with you, and I want to watch your career grow. And Fran is such a wonderful, wonderful PR, wonderful media specialist. She really knows how to pull out those random thoughts or those vague thoughts in your head and make them into concrete doable goals that you can achieve. And that's what Fran's really good at, because authors need to have more than just the artist's head. They need to have the business part of it as well. Fran will definitely help you do that. So, Fran, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Cool.
You know, Rachel, Fran, like I said, she's been a great friend of the show, and she actually helped bring in my next point of what I've learned in the 3 years I've been doing this show, is that this is not just an art, it's a business. And when you work with people like Fran, who really gets the concept of that, they truly understand, hey, just because you're an author and you're waiting for the juices to flow and you're waiting for the characters to speak to me, they talk to me. Yeah, but you have to talk to your readers now. Now you have to get that message out there. And so what are your thoughts? We talk about this whole that, you know, in the last several years we've learned it is a business. What are your thoughts on that?
Some authors don't really realize that this is business, and there's a whole business end that goes on behind the scenes, and you're constantly balancing your time between the business end and the actual production of the product, you know, the writing end. And it's tough. If you don't have any business background, you frequently need somebody to come alongside and help you. It sounds like Fran does a great job at that. Fran has been so helpful, like she mentioned before, when she called in. Due to her help, I was able to get on the Best of Spring Reading. Summer Reading for 2016, and that's through her help. And this this list goes out to so many different outlets, PR outlets, news stations, newspapers, big, huge names, small names. It goes out everywhere. So you gain that exposure that you need. And I would not have gotten it if I had not used Fran. And that's the aspect of the business part of writing, is understanding that sometimes you need partners. And we know indie authors especially, we know how that goes. They never have any money. And I totally understand. We do. We don't have money.
They totally don't have any money. But Fran does work with any budget. She works with any budget and helps you. I mean, of course, you won't get the huge budget for a huge plan, but she will work with your budget and will help you get that. So I want to recommend everyone, if you need help with your marketing, you want to help quantify your goals and get that together, contact Fran. I've used her services. I can definitely vouch for them. If you want a reference from me, you know how to get in contact with me, because some people, and you should, you know, contact your references. Like, can I trust this person? You can definitely trust Fran Briggs. Again, you can contact her on Twitter, Fran Briggs 1, and that's BRIGGS 1. You can contact her there or find her on Facebook, Fran Briggs. You definitely won't be disappointed. We're going to go ahead and take another quick break. When we come back, the final segment of our show, and we continue to celebrate the 3rd year of The Right Stuff. Stay tuned.
Don't go anywhere. More with Parker and her guests on The Right Stuff Radio Show. We'll be right back.
God gives humans the gift of making amazing stories to glorify Him. At speculativefaith.com, our ministry is to help fans explore fantasy, science fiction, supernatural stories, and beyond from an intentional and biblical Christian perspective. We share daily articles and have extensive archives tackling hot topics like end times beliefs, the art of writing, creative excellence in the Christian subcultures, discernment, sex, magic, Harry Potter, and space aliens and the Bible. If you are a parent or anyone else with a discriminating palate, our reviewers explore fantastical novels, movies, television, and games in light of God's beauty, goodness, and truth. Want to find Christian stories? The Spec Faith Library lists every fantastical novel we can find from a Christian author. It's all part of our mission to discern, engage, and enjoy fantastical human creativity in honor of our Creator, Jesus Christ. SpeculativeFaith.com, exploring fantastical stories for God's glory.
Have you read the latest issue of Sormag Digital, the award-winning literary magazine for multicultural readers and writers? Sormag Digital is available quarterly and showcases interviews with the best authors in multicultural literature. Sormag Digital features craft and business articles for those interested in writing. If you're looking for a good book, check out our book reviews on what's hot in multicultural literature. For writers looking for new readers to get in front of, Sormag Digital is the perfect place to introduce your book. We offer advertising spaces that fit your promotional budget. Get your free subscription on SoarMag.com or order a print issue on MagCloud.com. If you would like more information about SoarMag Digital, check us out on SoarMag.com or contact us at SoarMag@yahoo.com. SoarMag Digital is the magazine for multicultural readers and writers.
We're back, and you're hanging out with the queen of Tuesday night, Parker J., and her guests right here on The Right Stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. We have been having such a great time celebrating the third year of the Right Stuff radio show with yours truly, the queen of Tuesday nights, Parker J. I've been just so happy and just really blessed to be going down memory lane with you as we talked about the first show, how the show came to be. We talked about the family of authors that we all created together. We talked about how we network and how the business end of it. We talked about how we talk about the tough stuff, the taboo stuff in Christian fiction. We talk about how some publishers don't want to hear that, and yet here on this show, it is my sincere hope that God allows this show to heal one person. I always said if one person, just one, can be healed by something that's been said on this show, to God be the glory, to God be our praise. And so I'm really glad to be talking about that with the first person who was on my show, Rachel Rosano. Rachel, it's been absolutely fantastic having you with us again for the annual celebration of the Right Stuff. You know, before the break, we were talking about just the things I've learned over the time and the course of being the host of the Right Stuff. And the other thing I learned, and I want to talk with you about it, is don't sweat the small stuff. And it sounds so simple, but you'd be surprised how people in general, not just writers, but people in general can sweat the small stuff. They're upset because someone said something mean about their book. They're upset because the cover of their book isn't quite what they want it to be. They're upset because someone else got the recognition they didn't get. And I've learned over the course of this show to not sweat the small stuff because you know what it is? Small stuff. It won't change the world. Your writing career is not going to fall over from it unless you do something really, really crazy, okay? And it's all about, first of all, honoring the Lord. If you choose to write Christian fiction, it's about honoring the Lord. Secondly, it's about using the gift that God gave you. So don't sweat the small stuff. Go ahead and expand on that for me, Rachel.
Yeah, it's when you're in the midst of the publishing process and you're going, okay, I got to check this and I got to check that and I got to do the other thing and everything has to be perfect. And you get down to the end, and I have yet to do a perfect release. I'm sorry, it just has not happened. But I've learned that that's okay. It's not going to be perfect, and it still gets out there. It still reaches the people that it's important to reach, and that's the purpose. It does what I intended it to do. Yeah, I probably should have announced it 3 weeks earlier. I probably should have arranged my book tour at this date instead of this date, but it's not going to change the end result. And it's okay to, it's like maybe I should have asked for reviews 3 weeks earlier, but the reviews are going to be getting out there in time because my book's going to be there a long time. And it's not really that big of a deal. It's like giving yourself grace. Because you're not perfect, and so your book is not going to be perfect, but you do your best. And you give God the glory, and you trust Him to take care of the small stuff, the important small stuff.
Yes. We want to definitely make sure you have a book. We definitely want to do that. Yes. Make sure you get it published and get it out there. I remember one time. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
You want to make sure you do your due diligence. You want to do the best you can. There's a point of being negligent and just saying, oh, forget it, I'm not going to correct this grammar. But there's also the, okay, I corrected the grammar, and somebody disagrees with how I corrected the grammar. Well, I'm sorry, it's the way I decided to do it, and this is why. It doesn't mean you have to agree with me. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and sweating the small stuff can really cause a lot of harm, more harm than good. I remember it went viral too, Rachel. This one review of this guy's book, she said, I thought it was pretentious. She didn't particularly care for the book. And what was so strange about the book was that he had other negative reviews, but for some reason he harped on hers. And people, he kept going at her. And it wasn't like, she was like, okay, I'm surprised at this reaction, first of all. She's like, well, I'll change my review, but I'm not going to change what I said. I can reword it a little bit differently, which I thought was quite gracious of her. But he took it to another level. The whole incident went viral. He got kicked off of Goodreads, and people just knocked his book down. They didn't even read his book. They're just putting 1 stars on it, and then he blamed her for it. I'm like, it's not her fault. You're the one who actually went berserk over it. He went complete berserk over it. And that's, once again, sweating the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Not everyone's going to agree with what you do. If you have a couple of misspelled words, even though you went over the fine-tooth comb, it's okay. You definitely, if you see more people saying, hey, this is wrong, then you definitely want to correct that. I'm not saying that. But don't sweat the small stuff.
It's not worth it.
We got a comment from David. David says, Parker, you have been and continue to be a blessing to the indie spec fiction community. Whether through your show, your encouraging feedback on works, or just your cheerful disposition when things are rough, you are loved and valued. Thank you for your show, for the opportunities it has created for myself and others, and for just being you. David, thank you so much for that comment. And what's interesting about David is that David was my first international guest on the show, and I've been a fan of his works. He's a good brother. When we first met, he was kind of abrasive, and I've told him this to his face, quote unquote. But over the years, he's mellowed down a little bit, and I've learned a lot from him. He has helped me with my own work, how to be a better author, and that's what it means by learning that this is a network, and that networking is the key. Because if you meet someone who's trying to help you, you don't want to definitely throw their help in their faces, so you definitely don't want to do that.
Yes.
The final thing I've learned, and I want you to speak to this as well, Rachel, is whether you write Christian fiction or not, and most people on the show, they consider themselves Christians who write. Some do consider themselves Christian authors who are writers. But whether or not you write Christian fiction or not, I want you to give thanks to God for your gift. And I think this is important because for some reason God saw fit to give you that gift to write. And you need to be responsible with that gift. Now, I'm not saying, like, I know some Christians who choose to write secular, and that's between them and God, but they don't write degrading stuff about God, if I can say it like that. They don't change God's nature. They may not even mention God in any of their works, but there's not demeaning or anything like that. And over the years, I used to say Christian writers should write Christian fiction, but over the years, as I've done this show, my thoughts have changed on that because not everybody wants to do that. And why would I want to impose that on anyone when God gives everyone who can write the ability to write? But whatever you do, give thanks to God for your gift. And I think it's essential to do that because we may take these gifts for granted, thinking that, oh, this is what I was born with. No, you were gifted with that gift to write. God put it inside of you, and he gave you a purpose for that gift. Whether or not you choose to write, again, Christian fiction or not, is between you and him. But whatever you do, in everything, you give thanks to the Lord. For myself, and Rachel, I want you to speak to this too. For myself, I never thought I would be a Christian author. I had no idea the Christian fiction industry existed till about 1999, 2000. I had no idea it even existed. And I thought I had to discover I was going to be something different. Like, I want to write Christian horror. No one else has written that. And then I looked up, and so apparently I was living in a rock for the last 20 years or so like that. And I'm thankful to the Lord that he decided to give this to me. And you kind of go, why not this other gift? Why can't I be like someone else? Why can't I have the gift to do this, or why don't I have the gift to do that? But whatever he gives you, give thanks for it. Because he didn't have to give that to you. Obviously, he saw something in you that he said, this, my child, will have this gift, and he's going to use it for my glory, whatever that is. What are your thoughts, Rachel?
Well, I agree. You should be giving him thanks because even writing as many books as I have and writing as much as I have, I still can tell you there are mysteries to this process that I don't understand. There are connections that my brain makes that I don't realize until later that they made. And there's a lot of stuff that's like I read through some of the stuff I had just written and I'm going, hey, there's something I didn't realize I had put in there that connects to something else, and ooh, that makes a lot of sense. And it was not a conscious decision to do that. It was the Lord working through me, and that was not me. And I look at it and going, yeah, the reason I'm a good writer is not because I read a lot of books, because I know a lot of people who read a lot of good books and don't write. And I know that that's not because I wanted to do this, though I did want to do it, because I know some people who really want to write who can't. So it's the Lord. He decided this is what he wants me to be doing right now, and I feel called to do it, despite being in this season of my life when I'm homeschooling 3 children. This is definitely something I have to make a priority, but I feel called that this is what the Lord wants me to do right now. And he's giving me the ability to do it, and if it's something I shouldn't be writing, it doesn't come. I try to pray about it and try to keep my mind open to what he wants me to do. But it's like sometimes it's like, oh, this is a cool idea. And then I'm going, no, it's not coming. It's not coming together. It's not the right time. It's not. And it wasn't me. I wanted it. He didn't. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I guess we're doing something else now.
Exactly.
And he always provides. He always gives what I need. And it always works out in perfect timing. And sometimes it's not my timing, because I'm constantly a pusher. I'm always going, okay, I want more, I want more, I want more. Let's do this faster. And sometimes he's just like, nope, we're not doing that now. I'm like, okay.
It's like that. And I was thinking about how God gave us. Said, I'm going to use you to do this. And when you realize that you are in a little that at that point, you get humble.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I didn't know this would ever happen to me. And from being obedient to that, I was asked to, be the speaker at a conference. I've done a few workshops. I'm doing my first paid engagement next week at a conference up in Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. I've been asked to go out to another conference. And you look and you go, this wasn't my plan. I wasn't going to do this. What are you talking about? This was not something I had planned on doing. All I wanted to be was a writer. That's all I wanted to be. And God takes our dreams and he blows them up and he makes them bigger.
And better.
And better than we thought ever we could possibly be. And that's why I say you have to give the Lord praise for everything that he does, for everything that he gives you. This show has become more than just a show. It's a ministry. It's the way I connect with other authors. It's the way I connect with publishers. It's the way I connect with authors. It's the way I connect with people who may be hurting. It's the way I connect with people who may need something else to think about that day because they're so stressed at work. It's a great way to get reviews and talk to people. This show has become so much more than showcasing Christian authors. It's become a family. All you listeners have been part of my family. All you have been with me throughout the last 3 years. And as God wills it, and as he gives me strength, I'm going to continue to do this until he tells me to do something else. And I want to say thank you for coming on board the show today. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for always being with me. Every time I ask you, thank you for always being with me. And thank you for your part in making the right stuff the right place to be.
Thank you.
And I want people to know where they can find you, Rachel, and where they can find you online.
I have my website, which is www.rachel, R-A-C-H-E-L, Rossano, R-O-S-S-A-N-O .com. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on Amazon. I am on iBooks, all over the place. So if you look up my name, I'm Brown. So you should be pretty easy to find.
You said if you look me up, you'll find me, right?
Yep. So the name is Rachel Rossano, R-A-C-H-E-L-R-O-S-S-A-N-O.
And Rachel, again, thank you for being with me on the show, and can't wait to have you back real soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, as I end this third-year celebration with you, I can't help but think how much we've been through together. And I can't help but think that when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm here with you. And I got to tell you, you make the show possible. Your participation, your questions, your comments, even your disagreements with what some things are said, you make it all possible. And I can't thank you enough for following me these last 3 years. Especially want to give a shout-out to Crossover Alliance, my new friend and publisher. Not my publisher, my new publisher that I'm working with. I want to give a special shout out to Alexio Publishing for being the first publisher to publish my book. I also want to thank Vanessa Grosset from The Author's Care. And I also want to thank Allie Carter, who has been a huge help to me in my writing career. And so many other people I want to thank. I couldn't get everyone's name because I didn't want to forget anyone. But for those of you who I didn't say, thank you so much for making the right show the place to be. Thank you for allowing me to be the queen of Tuesday nights for you every Tuesday, every week for the last 3 years. I'm so, so, so thankful for that. I'm about to cry, so I'm not going to belong this anymore. But thank you again. And if you want to know any and everything about me, go to my website, parkerjcole.com. See you next week.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of The Right Stuff. Follow Parker online at parkerjcole.com. To hear this show and other shows, visit the show archive at therightstuffradio.wordpress.com. We'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.